Hi everyone, my name is Charlotte and I'm 30 years old. I was born and raised here in the United States. Today I need to share a story that still makes my hands shake when I think about it. This is about what happened when my husband had to travel for work, and my mother-in-law decided that was the perfect opportunity to throw me out of my own home. This story involves manipulation, property rights, a shocking family secret, and how one woman tried to destroy my marriage and steal my house while my husband was thousands of miles away. By the end of this, you'll understand why I'll never trust certain family members again. Let me start from the beginning so you understand how we got to that terrible moment when she told me to pack my bags and get out. My husband's name is David. We've been married for 7 years, and he's the love of my life. David is a civil engineer who specializes in infrastructure projects, bridges, highways, water systems, that sort of thing. It's demanding work, but he's incredibly talented and passionate about what he does. About 2 years ago, David got an incredible job opportunity. A major construction company offered him a position as the lead engineer on a massive bridge project overseas. The project was located in Southeast Asia and was expected to take 18 months to complete. The pay was exceptional, almost triple his normal salary, and it would set us up financially for years to come. There was just one catch. David would need to be on site for extended periods. We're talking about 2 to 3 month stretches where he'd be living overseas, with only brief trips home every few months. It was a difficult decision for both of us. We'd never been apart for that long, but financially, it made sense. We had just bought our house 2 years prior, a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in a good neighborhood. We paid $420,000 for it, putting down 20% and taking out a mortgage for the rest. The house was in both our names. We were equal owners. This is important. Remember this detail. We talked extensively about the overseas project. "Charlotte, I don't want to leave you for that long," David said. "But this money could pay off half our mortgage. We could renovate the kitchen like you've always wanted. We could finally start that college fund for the kids we're planning to have. It's an amazing opportunity. We'll make it work. Are you sure you'll be okay here alone?" I laughed. "David, I'm a 30-year-old nurse practitioner. I can take care of myself. I'll miss you terribly, but I'll be fine." That's when David's mother, Patricia, inserted herself into the conversation. Patricia is 60, 8 years old. She's been a widow for 8 years. Her husband, Richard, David's father, died from a sudden heart attack when he was 63. Patricia took his death very hard, and in many ways, she never fully recovered. After Richard died, Patricia became increasingly dependent on David. He's her only child, and she leaned on him for everything: emotional support, financial advice, home repairs, companionship. David, being the good son he is, was always there for her. But I'd noticed over the years that Patricia had trouble accepting that David was now a married man with his own family. She'd make little comments like, "Before Charlotte, you used to visit me every Sunday," or, "I tried to be understanding." She'd lost her husband and was lonely, but there was always an underlying tension between us. When Patricia heard about David's overseas job, she had a suggestion. "David, I don't think Charlotte should be alone in that big house for months at a time. It's not safe for a woman to be by herself. What if something happens? What if there's a break-in or an emergency?" "Mom, Charlotte will be fine. She's very capable." "I have a better idea," Patricia said, her eyes lighting up. "Why don't I move into your house while you're away? That way Charlotte won't be alone and I can help with cooking, cleaning, and keeping her company." It's the perfect solution. I felt my stomach drop. Living with Patricia for months? But David looked relieved. "That's actually not a bad idea, Mom. Charlotte, what do you think?" I was trapped. How could I say no without looking like a terrible daughter-in-law? That's very generous, Patricia. Let me think about it." "There's nothing to think about," Patricia said firmly. "It's settled. I'll move in next week, before David leaves. We'll be like roommates. It'll be fun." It was not going to be fun. Over the next few days, I tried to talk to David privately about my concerns. "David, I love your mother, but I'm not sure living with her is a good idea. We have very different lifestyles and routines."
"It's only temporary,"
David said. "Just while I'm overseas. She means well, Charlotte. She's lonely and wants to help. But this is our home, our space." "I know, but..." And honestly, David had already made up his mind. Patricia moved in 3 days before David left for his first rotation overseas. She brought suitcases, boxes, and bags filled with her belongings. She took over the guest bedroom and immediately started rearranging things. "This kitchen is so inefficient," she said on her first day. "We'll need to reorganize everything." She moved my dishes, rearranged my pantry, and changed where I kept my cooking utensils. "Patricia, I had everything organized the way I like it. Trust me, dear, my way's better. I've been running a kitchen for 45 years. The day David left for the airport was emotional. We both cried. He held me tight and said, "I'll call you every day. I'll be home for a visit in 10 weeks. This will fly by, I promise." "I love you," I said. "Be safe." "I love you too. And Charlotte, thank you for letting my mom stay with you. I know it's not ideal, but it means a lot to me." After David left, I felt a profound sense of loneliness. The house felt empty without him, even with Patricia there. That first week, Patricia was on her best behavior. She cooked meals, kept the house clean, and made polite conversation. I thought maybe this arrangement would work out after all. But by the second week, things started to change. Patricia began making comments about how I ran the household. "Charlotte, you really should dust more often. There's dust on the baseboards." Or, "You leave lights on in empty rooms. That's wasteful." Richard and I always turned lights off immediately. She criticized how I folded laundry, how I organized the refrigerator, and how I decorated the living room. "This house could use a woman's touch. It's very plain." "David and I like it this way," I said, trying to keep my voice even. David never complained about how I decorated when he lived with me. I started spending more time in my bedroom, just to get away from her constant commentary. I'd come home from my nursing shifts exhausted, and she'd be waiting with the list of things I needed to do around the house. But I dealt with it. I told myself it was temporary. David would be home in a few weeks for a visit, and I could talk to him about setting some boundaries. Then, 3 weeks after David left, Patricia crossed a line. I came home from work one evening to find Patricia had gone into my bedroom, David's and my private bedroom, and had organized everything. She'd rearranged my closet, moved my personal items, and even went through my dresser drawers. "Patricia, what are you doing in my bedroom?" She smiled. "I was cleaning and noticed how disorganized everything was. I took the liberty of fixing it for you. This is my private space. You can't just go through my things. I'm family, Charlotte. There shouldn't be secrets between us." "It's not about secrets. It's about privacy and boundaries." Patricia's smile faded. "I'm trying to help you, and this is the thanks I get? I'm grateful." I took a deep breath. "I appreciate that you want to help, but I need you to respect my privacy. Please don't go into my bedroom again without asking." Patricia's expression turned cold. "Fine. I'll just stay in my room then, since I'm such a burden." She went to the guest room and slammed the door. I called David that night. Because of the time difference, it was early morning where he was. "David, your mom went through our bedroom today. She rearranged everything. She was probably just trying to help."
"She went through my dresser drawers, Dave."
"That's not helping. That's invading my privacy." "Look, I know Mom can be a bit much sometimes, but she means well. Can you just try to get along with her? I'm dealing with a lot of stress here, and I need to know things are okay at home." I felt guilty immediately. Here he was working 16-hour days on a dangerous construction site, and I was complaining about his mother. "You're right. I'll try harder." But things only got worse. Over the next month, Patricia became increasingly controlling. She started opening my mail, including bank statements and credit card bills. When I confronted her, she said, "I thought it might be important." She began answering my phone when I was at work, screening my calls. My friends started complaining that they'd called me and some woman answered and interrogated them about who they were and why they were calling. She threw away food in the refrigerator that she deemed unhealthy or expired, even though it was perfectly fine. She rearranged furniture without asking. She invited her friends over to my house for card games without checking with me first. "Patricia, this is my home. You can't just invite people over without asking me. It's David's home, too, and he wouldn't mind. But David's not. I am. And I mind. You're being very selfish, Charlotte. I'm an old woman who needs social interaction. Would you rather I be lonely and depressed?" The guilt tripping was constant and exhausting. I started avoiding going home. I'd pick up extra shifts at the hospital. I'd go to the gym after work. I'd meet friends for dinner. Anything to minimize my time in the house with Patricia. David called me one evening excited. "Great news! I'm coming home for a visit in 2 weeks. I'll have 10 days off." "I can't wait to see you." I burst into tears. "I can't wait either. I miss you so much." "What's wrong? You sound upset?" "Nothing. I'm just really looking forward to seeing you." I didn't tell him how bad things had gotten with Patricia. I didn't want to ruin his homecoming with complaints about his mother. When David came home, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I had my husband back, my partner, my protector. Patricia was on her best behavior during David's visit. She cooked his favorite meals, smiled constantly, and acted like the perfect mother and houseguest. But I noticed something. When David and I would go to our bedroom to have private conversations or intimate moments, Patricia would happen to need something right outside our door. She'd knock and interrupt us constantly. David, do you know where I put my reading glasses? David, can you help me reach something in the kitchen? David, I need to ask you about my car insurance. It was like she couldn't stand the idea of us being alone together. One evening, I overheard Patricia talking to David in the kitchen. David, I'm worried about Charlotte. She's been very distant and cold toward me. I'm trying my best to be helpful, but she seems resentful of my presence. My jaw dropped. She was lying to him. Really? She hasn't said anything to me. She wouldn't. She knows how much you love me, and she doesn't want to make you choose between us. But David, I don't think she wants me here. Maybe I should just go back to my own house. No, Mom. You're helping us out by being here. I'll talk to Charlotte. Later that night, David approached me. Charlotte, is everything okay between you and my mom? Why do you ask? She says you've been cold to her, that you don't want her here. I couldn't believe it. David, that's not true. I've been nothing but accommodating. She's the one who's been overstepping boundaries left and right. Like what? I told him everything. The snooping, the mail opening, the constant criticism, the rearranging of our home, the boundary violations. David looked uncomfortable. Maybe there have been some misunderstandings. She's from a different generation. She probably doesn't realize she's bothering you. I've told her multiple times, just, can you try to be patient with her? She's lonely, Charlotte. She lost my dad, and I'm all she has. Once again, I was made to feel like the bad guy. David's 10-day visit flew by too quickly. On his last day, he held me close. I'll be home again in another 8 weeks. This project is going really well. We might even finish early. After David left, everything changed. Within 24 hours of David's departure, Patricia's behavior did a complete 180. The sweet, helpful mother-in-law act disappeared entirely. In its place was someone I barely recognized. Cold, demanding, and openly hostile. I came home from work the day after David left to find Patricia sitting in the living room with a notepad. Sit down, Charlotte. We need to have a conversation. About what? About the new house rules. Now that David's gone again, things are going to change around here. I blinked. House rules? Patricia, this is my house. It's David's house too. And as his mother and the elder in this household, I think it's appropriate that I take charge of running things properly. Excuse me? She consulted her notepad. First, I think you work too much. You should cut back your hours at the hospital so you can focus more on maintaining the home. I'm not cutting back my hours. Second, your friends are too loud when they visit. No more guests without my approval. My friends? Third, your meals are too plain and unhealthy. I stood up. Patricia, you are a guest in my home. You don't get to make rules. Her eyes narrowed. I am not a guest. I am David's mother. This is his house. And you seem to forget that you're only here because you married him. We both own this house. Our names are both on the deed. Technically, perhaps. But David's money made the down payment, didn't it? That was partially true. David had contributed more to the down payment because he'd been saving longer than I had. But I'd contributed too, and I'd been paying half the mortgage every month since we bought the house. That doesn't give you the right to take over my home. We'll see what David has to say about your attitude, Patricia said coldly. Over the next few days, Patricia became unbearable. She would wake me up at 6 in the morning by vacuuming outside my bedroom door. She'd use up all the hot water before I could shower. She'd eat food I'd specifically bought for my lunches and claim she didn't know it was mine. When I'd confront her, she'd say things like, "If you don't like it, you can leave." I called David and tried to explain what was happening, but Patricia had gotten to him first. She'd been calling him daily, crying, saying I was being cruel to her and trying to kick her out. Charlotte, my mom says you've been treating her terribly. She's in tears. David, she's manipulating you. She's the one making my life miserable. I think you're both just stressed. Can you please try to get along? I can't deal with this drama right now. We're behind schedule on the project. I'm working 18-hour days, and the last thing I need is you two fighting. I felt so alone. My husband was thousands of miles away, and his mother was systematically taking over my life. Things came to a head 6 weeks after David's visit. I came home from a particularly brutal 12-hour shift at the hospital. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and all I wanted was to take a hot shower and go to bed. I walked into my house to find it filled with people. Patricia's friends, maybe 8 or 9 of them, having some kind of party. There was food everywhere, music playing, and they were using my dishes, my furniture, my home. "Patricia, what is this?" She smiled sweetly. "Just a little gathering with my friends." "I told you I was having people over." "No, you didn't." I'm sure I mentioned it. "Anyway, we'll be here for a few more hours. You can go to your room if we're too loud." One of her friends, a woman I'd never met, looked me up and down. "Oh, is this the daughter-in-law? Patricia's told us all about you." The way she said it made it clear that whatever Patricia had said wasn't flattering. I went to my bedroom and called David. It was the middle of the night where he was, but I didn't care. "David, your mother has thrown a party in our house without asking me." I came home exhausted from work to find strangers in our living room. David sounded groggy. "Charlotte, it's 3 in the morning here. I don't care. Your mother is out of control. She's just being social. Why is that such a big deal?" "Because this is my home. She didn't ask permission, she didn't give me any notice, and when I came home, she told me to go to my room like I'm a child in my own house."
"You're overreacting. I'm not overreacting."
"David, you need to tell your mother to go back to her own house. This isn't working. I can't live like this anymore." "Charlotte, I need my mother there. I can't have you alone in the house for months. What if something happens? I'm an adult woman. I don't need a babysitter." "I can't have this conversation right now. I have to be on site in 4 hours. We'll talk about this later." He hung up. I sat on my bed and cried. I felt trapped, gaslighted, and completely unsupported by my own husband. The party finally ended around 11 at night. I heard Patricia's friends leaving, saying their goodbyes. Then I heard Patricia cleaning up. Around midnight, there was a knock on my bedroom door. "Charlotte, we need to talk." I opened the door. Patricia stood there with her arms crossed. "David called me. He told me about your tantrum." "Patricia, you threw a party in my house without permission. This is David's house. And as long as he's paying the mortgage, I have every right to be here and to invite guests. I pay half the mortgage. Your little nursing salary is nothing compared to what David makes, especially with his overseas pay. Let's not pretend you contribute equally." I felt like I'd been slapped. "I think we need to be honest with each other," Patricia continued. "You're not the wife I would have chosen for my son. You're selfish, you're unwelcoming, and you don't appreciate what a good man David is. If it were up to me, he would have married someone better. Get out of my room." "Gladly. But Charlotte, remember, David will always choose me. I'm his mother, you're just his wife, and wives can be replaced." I locked my bedroom door and sobbed into my pillow. For the next 2 weeks, I lived in a state of constant anxiety. Patricia had essentially taken over the house. She acted like she owned the place, and I was just an unwelcome guest. She'd take up all the space in the living room with her things. She'd watch her TV shows at full volume. She'd use my car without asking, claiming her car wasn't working properly. She'd even started going into my bathroom and using my toiletries, my expensive skincare products, my makeup, my perfume. When I'd confront her, she'd say, "What's yours is David's, and what's David's is mine. We're family." I started looking into my legal options. I made an appointment with a real estate attorney to discuss my rights as a co-owner of the property. The attorney, Mr. Reynolds, reviewed my deed and mortgage documents. "Patterson, you and your husband are joint tenants with rights of survivorship. You have equal ownership of this property. Your mother-in-law is a guest in your home, and as a homeowner, you have the right to ask her to leave. But my husband wants her there. Your husband has the right to invite guests as well, but if you and he disagree, it becomes a marital issue, not a property issue. Legally, you could ask her to leave, but it might cause serious problems in your marriage. What if she refuses to leave? Then you could start eviction proceedings, but again, that would likely destroy a relationship with your husband." I felt trapped. No matter what I did, I lost. Then, "Charlotte, I have to stay overseas longer than planned. The project hit some complications, and they need me here for at least another 3 months before I can take another break." My heart sank. 3 months? I'm so sorry, honey. I know this is hard, but the good news is the extra pay will be substantial. We'll be able to pay off half the mortgage like we planned. David, I can't do this anymore. Can't do what? I can't live with your mother anymore. She's making my life miserable. She's taken over the house, she treats me like an intruder, and she's told me multiple times that I don't belong here. I'm not David, she said that wives can be replaced. She was probably just upset. Look, I can't deal with this drama right now. The stress here is overwhelming. Can you please just try to make peace with my mother for me? What about me? What about my stress? What about my feelings? Charlotte, I'm asking you to be the bigger person, just for a few more months. I realized in that moment that David was never going to choose me over his mother. He was always going to take her side, always going to make excuses for her, always going to ask me to sacrifice my comfort and peace of mind for her sake. The day after that phone call with David, everything came crashing down. I came home from work at 6 in the evening. I walked through the front door and immediately knew something was wrong. The house was too quiet. Patricia's car was in the driveway, but I didn't hear her usual TV show playing. I walked into the living room and found Patricia sitting in an armchair with two other people, a middle-aged man in a suit and an older woman I didn't recognize. Her voice was cold and formal. Who are these people? This is my attorney, Mr. Foster, and this is my financial advisor, Mrs. Chen. My blood ran cold. Why do you have your attorney and financial advisor in my house? Mr. Foster spoke up. Mrs. Patterson, my client has some concerns about the living situation here, and we're here to discuss options. Patricia leaned forward. Charlotte, I've discussed the situation with David, and we've come to an agreement. It's clear that you and I cannot live together, so I'm offering you a solution. What solution? I'll buy you out of the house. David and I will keep the property, and you'll be compensated fairly for your equity. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You'll buy me out of my own home? It's David's home too. And, quite frankly, David and I both agree that you're not the right fit for this family. The marriage clearly isn't working. Did David say that? Patricia smiled. David is a good boy. He doesn't want to hurt your feelings. But he confided in me that he's been unhappy for some time. The marriage was a mistake. You're too different. Too incompatible. I want to hear this from David directly. He's working right now. He can't be disturbed. But I have his power of attorney to handle his financial affairs while he's overseas. I can sign on his behalf. She pushed a document across the coffee table toward me. It was a buyout agreement offering me $90,000 for my share of the house, a house that was worth $420,000 and had about $300,000 in equity after the mortgage. This is insulting. My half of the equity is worth at least $150,000. Chen, the financial advisor, spoke up. Actually, when you factor in that David contributed 80% of the down payment and has been the primary earner, your true equity share is closer to 30%. We're being generous with this offer. That's not how joint ownership works, Mr. Foster said. Mrs. Obe. Patterson, you have 3 options. 1, accept this buyout offer. 2, we can force a partition sale of the property through the courts, which will be expensive and time-consuming for everyone. 3, you can move out voluntarily and continue paying half the mortgage from wherever you relocate. Patricia crossed her arms. I think we all know what the right answer is. Charlotte, it's time for you to pack your bags and leave. You don't belong here. You never did. I stood up, my hands shaking with rage and shock. Get out of my house. This is David's house, Patricia said calmly. I went to my bedroom, locked the door, and immediately called David. It was midnight where he was, but I didn't care. Charlotte! What's wrong? Your mother just tried to force me to sign a buyout agreement. She's trying to kick me out of my own house. What? That doesn't sound right. She has her attorney and financial advisor here. David, she said you agreed to this. She said you told her the marriage was a mistake. What? I never said that. Charlotte, I have no idea what you're talking about. She said she has your power of attorney to sign for you. Power of attorney? Charlotte, I never gave my mother power of attorney. She's in our house right now with legal documents trying to force me out. I heard David's voice change, becoming hard and angry. Put her on the phone, right now. I walked back out to the living room where Patricia and her entourage were still sitting. My husband wants to speak with you, I said, handing Patricia my phone. Patricia's face went pale, but she took the phone. Hello, David, darling. I couldn't hear what David was saying, but I could see Patricia's face changing color. She went from pale to red to purple. David, you don't understand. I was just trying to help. More talking from David's end. She's been so cruel to me, I thought. Patricia suddenly stood up. David, don't speak to me that way. I'm your mother. Whatever David said next made Patricia's hands start to shake. Fine, she screamed into the phone. Fine, I'll leave. But don't come crying to me when this marriage falls apart and you realize I was right about her. She threw my phone onto the couch and turned to her attorney and financial advisor. We're done here. Let's go. Mr. Foster stood up. Mrs. Bennett, if you could just sign these. I said we're done. Patricia grabbed her purse and stormed toward the guest room. I picked up my phone. David? Charlotte, I am so sorry. I had no idea she was doing any of this. She said you gave her power of attorney. I didn't. I would never. The only power of attorney I have is with our estate attorney, and it only activates if I'm incapacitated or dead. My mother has no legal authority over my affairs. She said you told her the marriage was a mistake. Charlotte, that's an absolute lie. I love you. Our marriage is not a mistake. I don't know what my mother was thinking, but she crossed every possible line. What do we do now? I told her she has 24 hours to pack her things and get out of our house. If she's not gone by tomorrow evening, we're calling the police and having her removed for trespassing. What about when you come home? When I come home, my mother will not be welcome in our house, ever. Charlotte, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you about how bad things were. I should have protected you. I failed you as a husband. I started crying. I thought you were choosing her over me. Never. You are my wife, my partner, my future. My mother? I don't even know who she is anymore. Patricia emerged from the guest bedroom with one suitcase. I'm not staying where I'm not wanted, she announced dramatically. David may have been fooled by you, Charlotte, but I know what you are. You've turned my son against me. You did that yourself, I said quietly. We'll see how long this marriage lasts without me here to hold it together. She walked out the front door, and I locked it behind her. Mr. Foster and Mrs. Chen packed up their documents quickly and left without another word. I sat on my couch in my living room, my house, and called David back. We stayed on the phone for 2 hours. David canceled his meetings for the next day so we could talk. I told him everything, every boundary violation, every cruel comment, every manipulation. I'm coming home, David said. I'm telling my boss it's a family emergency. I'll be on a flight tomorrow. David, you'll lose your job. I don't care. My wife needs me. No, I said firmly. We're gonna handle this my way. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. This is my home, and I'm going to live in it. You're going to finish your project, and we're going to communicate better from now on. But David, your mother is never setting foot in this house again. Agreed. 100% agreed. The next few weeks were strange. Living alone in the house, truly alone, felt both liberating and eerie, but it was my space again. I could breathe. Patricia called David repeatedly, crying, claiming I'd forced her out, saying she was homeless. She wasn't. She had her own house, and begging him to take her side. David stood firm. Mom, what you did was unforgivable. You tried to steal my wife's house while I was working overseas. You lied to me about Charlotte. You forged legal documents claiming to have my power of attorney. Do you understand how serious that is? That's fraud. Patricia tried guilt. I'm your mother. Doesn't that mean anything? It means you should have behaved better. Charlotte is my wife. She is my primary family now. You had a chance to be part of our lives, and you chose to try to destroy our marriage instead. Patricia tried one more manipulation. She called David's boss and claimed there was a family emergency requiring David to return home immediately. The boss called David to express his condolences about the family crisis. David told his boss the truth, that his mother was trying to manipulate him into leaving the project. The boss was understanding and actually increased David's salary for his honesty and commitment. Patricia's final move was to spread rumors through our extended family. She told everyone that I'd thrown her out, that I'd abused her, that I'd turned David against his own mother. David's cousins, aunts, and uncles started calling me, accusing me of being cruel to an elderly woman. That's when I did something I'd been avoiding. I sent a group email to the entire family explaining what had really happened. I attached photos of the fake power of attorney documents. I included text messages between Patricia and her attorney about getting Charlotte out of the house. I provided evidence of every manipulation and lie. The family went silent. Several relatives eventually reached out to apologize for believing Patricia, without hearing my side. David's Aunt Margaret called me personally. Charlotte, I owe you an apology. Patricia has always been manipulative, but I thought she'd mellowed with age. Clearly, I was wrong. What she did to you was inexcusable. When David finally came home for his next break, 3 months after the incident, our reunion was emotional and complicated. We had a long, honest conversation about our marriage, about boundaries with his mother, and about how we'd failed to communicate effectively when problems arose. I should have believed you when you told me she was overstepping, David said. I kept making excuses for her because she's my mother, and because I felt guilty about leaving you alone. And I should have been more direct with you about how bad things were. I tried to handle it myself because I didn't want to add to your stress, but that just made everything worse. We both acknowledged our mistakes and committed to doing better. David also had to deal with his mother. He agreed to meet her at a neutral location, a coffee shop, to have a final conversation. I didn't go with him. This was something he needed to do alone. When he returned, he looked exhausted and sad. She still doesn't think she did anything wrong. She kept saying she was protecting me, that you were taking advantage of me, that she had every right to be in her son's house. I told her that until she acknowledges what she did and apologizes sincerely to you, she and I have no relationship.
How did she react? She said I'd regret choosing you over her.
She said I'd come crawling back when the marriage fell apart. She said she'd never forgive me for abandoning her. David's eyes filled with tears. I've lost my mother, Charlotte. Not to death, but to her own stubbornness and manipulation. And the worst part is, I don't think she'll ever change. I held him while he cried. It was heartbreaking to watch him grieve the loss of the mother he thought he had. About a month after David returned to his overseas project, I received a call from Mr. Reynolds, the real estate attorney I'd consulted earlier. Mrs. Patterson, I wanted to inform you that Patricia Bennett's attorney, Mr. Foster, has been reported to the State Bar Association for ethics violations. Apparently, he knowingly participated in fraud when he presented those power of attorney documents to you. What will happen to him? He's under investigation. If found guilty, he could face suspension or disbarment. And there's more. Patricia herself may face criminal charges for fraud and forgery. Who reported them? Your husband did. He filed a police report when he returned home. The district attorney's office is reviewing the case. I was shocked. David hadn't told me he'd gone to the police. I called him immediately. David, Mr. Reynolds just told me you filed a police report against your mother. David sighed. I did. Charlotte, what she did wasn't just morally wrong. It was criminal. She forged documents, she committed fraud, and she tried to steal your property. If I let her get away with it, she'll just do it to someone else. But she's your mother. And she tried to destroy my marriage and steal from my wife. There have to be consequences. The district attorney eventually decided to prosecute. Patricia was charged with attempted fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. Yes, elder abuse, because by trying to fraudulently claim power of attorney, she was positioning herself to exploit what she claimed was her elderly son's assets. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Patricia hired an expensive defense attorney who tried to paint her as a concerned mother who'd made some mistakes. But the evidence was overwhelming. The fake documents, the text messages with her attorney, the testimony from neighbors who'd heard her say she was going to get that girl out of my son's house. Patricia accepted a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to attempted fraud and was sentenced to 3 years of probation, 200 hours of community service, and ordered to pay restitution to me for my legal fees, approximately $15,000. She was also ordered to stay at least 500 feet away from our property and to have no contact with me whatsoever. The only contact she could have with David was through written communication, and only if he initiated it. It's been 18 months now since that terrible day when Patricia tried to kick me out of my own home. David finished his overseas project 4 months ago and is now working locally again. Having him home permanently has been wonderful for our marriage. We're closer than ever, and we've built strong boundaries and communication skills. We're also expecting our first child, a baby boy due in 3 months. When we found out I was pregnant, I wondered if David would want to tell his mother. He didn't. She made her choices, he said. She'll never meet our children. I won't expose them to her manipulation and toxicity. It's sad, but I understand. Patricia hasn't changed. She still sends David occasional letters claiming she's the victim, that I've brainwashed him, that she deserves to be part of his life. David throws the letters away without reading most of them. We did have one surprise, though. About 6 months ago, David's Aunt Margaret reached out with some information. David, I think you should know. Your mother has been doing this for years. After your father died, she tried to take control of his sister's finances, claiming she had power of attorney from Richard. She tried to get your cousin James to sign over his inheritance. She's even tried to manipulate elderly people in her church congregation.
Why didn't anyone tell me? David asked. We thought you knew.
We thought you were okay with how she was. We didn't realize you were as much a victim of her manipulation as the rest of us. This revelation was both painful and validating. Patricia's behavior wasn't new. It was a pattern, and we weren't her only victims. As for our house, it's truly our home now. I painted it a cheerful yellow, bought new furniture, and turned it into a nursery for our baby. Every time I walk past that room, I remember what happened. But instead of feeling traumatized, I feel empowered. I stood my ground. I protected my home and my marriage. I didn't let Patricia steal what was mine. My mother, Susan, has been incredibly supportive through all of this. She's helped me prepare for the baby, and she's promised to be the grandmother our child deserves. Not every family member is worth keeping, Mom told me once. Some people are toxic even when they're blood relatives. You did the right thing protecting yourself and your marriage. David has started therapy to process the loss of his mother and the realization of who she really is. It's been helpful for him. He's learning that he can grieve the mother he thought he had, while also accepting that she was never really that person. I spent my whole life making excuses for her, David told me recently. I'd tell myself she was lonely or grieving or just from a different generation. But the truth is, she's a manipulative person who sees other people as tools to get what she wants. Even me, especially me. As for me, I've learned some valuable lessons. I've learned that it's okay to set boundaries, even with family. I've learned that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat. I've learned that my home is my sanctuary, and I have every right to protect it. I've also learned that marriage requires constant communication, even when it's uncomfortable. David and I have promised each other that we'll never let problems fester like we did during his overseas project. Looking back on everything that happened, I want to share some advice for anyone dealing with difficult in-laws or family members, especially when property and living arrangements are involved. First, know your legal right. I'm so glad I consulted with a real estate attorney early on. Understanding that I had equal ownership of my home, regardless of who contributed more to the down payment, gave me confidence to stand my ground. If you own property jointly with a spouse, educate yourself on what that means legally in your state. Second, document everything. I wish I'd started documenting Patricia's behavior earlier. Take screenshots of text messages, keep notes of conversations, save emails, and if necessary, install security cameras. I eventually did install cameras in our home, and they captured Patricia going through my personal belongings, which became useful evidence later. Third, set boundaries early and enforce them consistently. I made the mistake of letting small boundary violations slide because I didn't want to cause problems, but every time I let something go, Patricia pushed further. If someone disrespects your space, your privacy, or your authority in your own home, address it immediately. Fourth, communicate with your spouse openly and honestly. I tried to protect David from stress by not fully explaining how bad things were with his mother. That was a mistake. Your spouse can't support you if they don't know what's happening. And if your spouse consistently takes someone else's side over yours, even their parents. Fifth, don't let anyone make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. Patricia was very skilled at guilt tripping, making me feel selfish for wanting privacy in my own home, making me feel cruel for not wanting to accommodate her every whim. But protecting your peace, your home, and your mental health is not selfish. It's necessary. Sixth, be prepared for family members to take sides. When Patricia spread rumors about me to the extended family, many people believed her without hearing my side of the story. That hurt. But the people who really matter took the time to learn the truth. And the ones who didn't, they weren't worth keeping in my life anyway. Seventh, understand that sometimes you have to choose between peace and family. David had to make the painful choice to cut off his mother to protect his marriage and his own well-being. That's not something anyone wants to do. But sometimes, toxic people, even parents, have to be removed from your life for your own mental health and safety. Finally, if someone tries to take your property or manipulate you into signing away your rights, get legal help immediately. Don't sign anything under pressure. Don't let anyone make you feel like you have to make a decision right away. Take your time, consult with professionals. For elderly viewers watching this, if you're concerned about adult children or family members trying to take advantage of you, please reach out for help. Call your local adult protective services, talk to an elder law attorney, or confide in a trusted friend. Financial exploitation of seniors is a real and growing problem, and you have legal protections. For younger viewers who might have problematic relationships with in-laws, you're not alone. In-law problems are incredibly common, but they don't have to destroy your marriage. The key is presenting a united front with your spouse. If your partner doesn't support you against unreasonable behavior from their parents, that's a serious problem that might require couples counseling. Today, David and I are in a much better place. Our baby boy, Robert, named after David's father, not his mother, was born 2 months ago. He's healthy, beautiful, and already the center of our world. My mother, Susan, is an amazing grandmother. She comes over twice a week to help out and bond with her grandson. She never overreaches, never tries to take over, and always respects that David and I are Robert's parents and make the decisions. That's what healthy family relationships look like. David has fully embraced fatherhood. He's present, engaged, and committed to being nothing like his mother. "I want to be the kind of parent who supports our children's independence," he told me. "Not someone who manipulates them or makes them feel guilty for having their own lives." We've also made our home truly ours. We renovated the kitchen, something we'd been planning to do with David's overseas income. We painted, decorated, and made every space reflect our tastes and personalities. The guest room, the one Patricia stayed in, is now a cheerful nursery where Robert sleeps peacefully, unaware of the drama that once unfolded in that space. We've had a few incidents where Patricia has tried to make contact. She sent a card when Robert was born, addressed only to David, saying she deserved to meet her grandson. David sent it back, unopened. She showed up at David's workplace once, demanding to see him. Security escorted her out, and David's boss warned her that if she returned, she even tried to friend request me on social media using a fake account. I blocked her immediately. The restraining order is still in effect, and Patricia has mostly given up trying to violate it. She knows there will be legal consequences if she does. I've heard through extended family members that Patricia tells everyone who will listen that she's the victim of a cruel daughter-in-law who stole her son. She claims she never did anything wrong, that everything was a misunderstanding, and that David will eventually come to his senses and return to her. But David has no intention of doing that. I'm done. I gave her chance after chance to acknowledge what she did and apologize. She refused. I can't have someone like that in my life or around my child. I respect David's decision, though I know it still hurts him. He's not cold-hearted, he's just finally setting the boundaries he should have set years ago. My advice to David's mother, if she's somehow watching this, would be this. You can't manipulate your way back into someone's life. You can't guilt them into forgetting what you did. The only path to reconciliation is genuine acknowledgement of your actions, a sincere apology, and changed behavior. But even then, the person you hurt gets to decide whether they want you back in their life. That's their right, not your entitlement. This whole experience taught me so much about myself, about marriage, and about family dynamics. I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. When Patricia was trying to kick me out of my own home, I could have crumbled. I could have given up and signed those papers, but I didn't. I stood my ground, and I fought for what was mine. I learned that marriage is a partnership, and partners need to protect each other. David and I failed at that during his overseas project. He didn't protect me from his mother, and I didn't communicate clearly enough about how bad things were, but we learned from our mistakes, and our marriage is stronger now because of it. I learned that not all family relationships are worth preserving. We're taught from childhood that family is everything, that we should forgive family members no matter what, that blood is thicker than water. But some family members are toxic, abusive, or manipulative, and it's okay to cut them out of your life, even if they're your parent or your spouse's parent. I learned that property ownership matters. Having my name on the deed to our house meant Patricia couldn't just kick me out, no matter how much she wanted to. If I'd been living in a house that was only in David's name, the situation would have been much more complicated. Women especially need to make sure they have legal ownership of property they contribute to, even if their spouse earns more money. All those text messages, emails, and security camera footage became critical evidence when Patricia's behavior escalated to legal action. If you're dealing with someone who's manipulative or potentially dangerous, document everything. I learned that professional help is important. The real estate attorney, the therapist David is seeing, the mediator we worked with, all of these professionals provided guidance and support that we couldn't have navigated alone. And I learned that home is more than just a physical space. It's a feeling of safety, comfort, and belonging. When Patricia was in my house, it didn't feel like home. It felt like I was a guest in someone else's space. Now that she's gone, our house feels like a true home again. A place where David, Robert, and I can build our life together without interference or manipulation. If you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, living with a difficult in-law, or feeling like someone is trying to take over your home or your life, please know that you're not alone. In-law problems are one of the top causes of marital stress. According to marriage counselors, conflicts with extended family, especially in-laws, are cited in nearly 75% of divorce cases. That's how serious this issue is. But you have options, you have rights, and you don't have to suffer in silence. If you're living with an in-law who's overstepping boundaries, have a calm, clear conversation with your spouse first. Explain exactly what behaviors are bothering you. Use specific examples. Don't make it about not loving their parent. Make it about specific actions and boundaries. If your spouse dismisses your concerns or takes their parent's side automatically, that's a red flag. Consider couples counseling. A neutral third party can help your spouse understand that your concerns are valid and that marriage means prioritizing your nuclear family over extended family. If an in-law is trying to control your finances, your property, or your decisions, document everything and consult with an attorney. Elder law attorneys don't just help elderly people, they also help younger people protect themselves from elder family members who are trying to manipulate or exploit them. If you feel unsafe in your own home because of an in-law's presence, you have the right to ask them to leave. If they refuse, you can start eviction proceedings. Yes, this will likely cause family drama, but your safety and well-being come first. And if your spouse absolutely refuses to support you in setting boundaries with their parents, you need to seriously evaluate your marriage. A spouse who consistently chooses their parent over their partner is not acting like a true partner. That's not a healthy marriage, and it's not likely to improve without significant intervention. For those of you who are the in-laws watching this, the mothers-in-law, fathers-in-law, or other extended family members, please understand that when your child gets married, they're forming a new primary family unit. Your role changes. You're no longer their number one priority. And that's healthy and normal. Your job as an in-law is to support your child's marriage, not undermine it. Your job is to respect boundaries, not push past them. Your job is to be a positive presence in their life, not a source of stress and conflict. If you find yourself thinking thoughts like, my child's spouse isn't good enough, or I know what's best for my child better than they do, or I should have more say in how they run their household, those are warning signs that you're heading down the same path Patricia went down. Your child is an adult. They chose their spouse. They're building their own life. The greatest gift you can give them is your support, your respect, and your willingness to maintain healthy boundaries. Despite all the pain and stress of the past 2 years, there have been some unexpected positive outcomes. David and I have a much stronger marriage now. We communicate better. We trust each other more deeply. We've faced a major crisis together and come out stronger on the other side. We've also gotten closer to other family members who supported us. David's Aunt Margaret has become like a mother figure to both of us. She's kind, respectful, and supportive, without being overbearing. She's shown us what healthy family relationships should look like. My mother, Susan, has been incredible throughout all of this. She never once said, "I told you so." Even though she had concerns about Patricia from the beginning, she just supported me, listened to me, and helped me stay strong. I've also connected with other women who've dealt with difficult in-laws. There are online support groups, forums, and communities where people share their experiences and advice. Knowing I wasn't alone in dealing with this made a huge difference. And honestly, having Patricia out of our lives has brought peace we didn't even know we were missing. We don't have to walk on eggshells anymore. We don't have to manage her emotions or deal with her manipulation. We can just live our lives. Our home feels lighter now, happier, more peaceful. It's amazing how much one toxic person can poison an entire environment, and how much relief there is when that person is gone. Robert will grow up in a home filled with love, respect, and healthy boundaries. He'll never know the stress and drama of having Patricia in our lives. And honestly, that's the best outcome I could hope for. As I close this story, I want to say one more thing to anyone who's going through something similar right now. You deserve to feel safe in your own home. You deserve to have your boundaries respected. You deserve a spouse who stands up for you. And you deserve to live your life without manipulation, guilt-tripping, or control from anyone, including family members. If someone is making you feel small, unwelcome, or like you don't belong in your own home, that's not okay. It doesn't matter if that person is your mother-in-law, your own mother, a sibling, or anyone else. Your home should be your sanctuary. Stand up for yourself. Get help if you need it. And don't let anyone convince you that protecting yourself is selfish or wrong. To David, if you're listening to this, thank you for eventually standing by me. Thank you for choosing our marriage over your mother's manipulation. Thank you for being willing to set boundaries, even though it was the hardest thing you've ever done. I know you still grieve the mother you thought you had, but I'm proud of the husband and father you've become. To my mother, Susan, thank you for showing me what unconditional love and healthy boundaries look like. Thank you for raising me to be strong enough to stand up for myself. Thank you for being the grandmother Robert deserves. And to Patricia, I hope someday you find peace and self-awareness. I hope you can look at what happened and understand your role in it. But whether you do or not, David, Robert, and I are moving forward without you. We're building a life filled with love, respect, and healthy relationships, and we're going to be just fine. Thank you all for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there who's dealing with a similar situation. Remember, your home is yours. Your marriage is yours. Your life is yours. Don't let anyone take those things from you. Take care of yourselves, set those boundaries, and surround yourselves with people who truly love and respect you. This is Charlotte, signing off.